Hello and welcome to this video on working with matrices in Matlab. Here's the content. I start with basic arithmetics, that is addition and subtraction of matrices and multiplication with numbers. Then I talk about the different matrix multiplications in Matlab. Matlab provides two possibilities. I talk about matrix vector products, scalar products, and finally about matrix powers. So in Matlab we can multiply a matrix with a number and we can add and subtract two matrices. A warning here, if we add or subtract two matrices, then the size must match. That is, the matrices must have the same number of rows and columns. So two examples. Here in this example we have 2 rows and 3 columns for both matrices. That works. In this case we have for the first matrix 2 rows and for the second matrix we have 3 rows. That does not match, so here we get an error message. Now we're in Matlab. I prepared already 2 matrices A and B with the same size, and now we can add A plus B and get the sum as we're used to do it in mathematics. Now I change the matrix B and add a third row. And if I now add A and B, the size does not match and we get an error message. Matrix dimensions must agree. I once again consider the matrix A, and now I multiply 3 times matrix A. The times is this star, and then I obtain 3 times the matrix A, which is the same as A plus A plus A. Back on the slides, we consider the matrix multiplications in Matlab. Matlab knows 2 kinds of matrix multiplication. That's first the mathematical multiplication and then the element-wise multiplication. We start with the mathematical multiplication. Here is an example. We multiply these 2 matrices and obtain the result. And here is important that the number of columns of the first matrix must match the number of rows of the second matrix, as we learned it in mathematics. If this does not match, you will obtain this error message. So first you see that you multiply 2 matrices using the star, and if the size does not match, you get this error message that tells you error using the star. Incorrect dimensions for matrix multiplication. Check that the number of columns in the first matrix matches the number of rows in the second matrix. Yeah, and always if you get this error message, you did something wrong with the size of the matrices. Okay, how does the mathematical multiplication work? We multiply each row of the first matrix with each column of the second matrix. For example, the first row with the second column. So that is 1 times 2 plus 2 times 3 plus 3 times 2, and that gives the 13 in the resulting matrix. Now let's come to the second kind of matrix multiplication in Matlab, which is very special. It's the element-wise multiplication. We have 2 matrices of the same size, and that's important. You need the same size. And we multiply these 2 matrices element-wise. What does this mean? We take the first element of the first matrix and multiply it with the second of the second matrix. It's 1 times 2. Then we multiply 2 times 1, 3 times 3, 2 times 5, and so on. So element-wise. Here is the implementation in Matlab. So you do this with a dot in front of the multiplication operator, the star. And always in Matlab, if you have a dot in front of such an operator, it is an element-wise multiplication. Where do you need this? Yeah, element-wise multiplication is typically applied if you want to plot something. Okay, let's now consider matrix vector products and scalar products. But since vectors are just special matrices in Matlab with just 1 row or 1 column, so it depends if it is a row or a column vector, nothing changes. You still use this star to multiply them. I changed to Matlab and I implemented a column vector X and a 3 by 3 matrix A, and now I can multiply A times X. And certainly here is a format important. If I multiply X times A, then this does not match together. So you have to transpose with a scalar the vector x, and then you obtain a correct result because the transposed is a row vector. Now I've implemented two column vectors and I want to do the scalar product of x times y. If I insert x times y, the size does not match, so I have to write x transpose times y, and then I get a number which is a scalar product. A funny thing is that you also can multiply x times y transpose, and this gives a matrix that's called the duadic product, and you obtain a tensor of second order. Back on the slides, we finally consider the matrix power. So what is the nth power of a matrix? We multiply a matrix A n times with itself, and instead of doing so, we can take the nth power of the matrix. And certainly Matlab provides a method to do so. So here is the example, the matrix A, we multiply A 3 times with itself and obtain the result. Instead of doing so, we can take the third power, and we do this with this head operator, and you see both results coincide. Be careful here, this works only for square matrices, and that has mathematical reasons. Okay, here is the last slide, because we can work out the power of a matrix also element by element. Here is an example, and you observe that this matrix is no longer a square matrix because we have 3 rows and 2 columns. And here is the element-wise power of the matrix. So the third power, what do? We take each entry and calculate the power 3. So 1 to the power 3, 2 to the power 3, 3 to the power 3, and we obtain 1, 8, 27, and so on. How do you implement this in Matlab? You once again use this dot in front of the head operator for the power. And again, you need this if you want to plot functions, for example. Yes, thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please leave me a comment and subscribe my channel.